So boys and girls, when you are going for Osint, it is very important to understand your goals. What goals you are looking for? As an investigator, what is there in your mind? Is it something that you want to use completely open, overt, public, non-anonymous activity, or you want to have low attribution, deniable secretives, or you want to have a completely unattributable and concealed, levels. So there are three levels of openness when it comes to the OSINT. So openness in OSINT simply means how secretive do I need to be in my OSINT work. Okay. It all depends upon the target of our investigations. Just as policies, detectives, the police detectives need to cover their tracks to not tip all other suspects, we too need to anonymize the network traffic. And we alert various methods of information leakages that could alert our target. So if you are going for a simple, searches, which does not require anything, private or unattributable, then you can use overt process. So anything public, non-anonymous activity is an overt level. Covert level is low attribution, deniable, but secretive. Okay. And the last one is the most complex one, and that requires significant amount of learning how to remain clandestine and how to remain anonymous at any point of time. And that's a beautiful art, it requires significant amount of learning how to remain anonymous. Okay. And in case of clandestine, it becomes completely unattributable and concealed. And operations supported, sponsored, or conducted by government organization, department, or agency to assure secrecy. We call this activity is anonymous. So when we go for, publicizing versus covertness, even if you want to go to public when would have found something important like that, it is important to weigh the risk of releasing this information to the public against our safety. So if you have found something, interesting and you are going to publish it with your, attributable ID, it becomes a risky information. So it is always good to use, covert channels, the covert way to get the information before it makes public. Otherwise, you will get exposed, your organization will get exposed. So just be careful about that. But, it is the public information, anybody can, like, I'm going and researching in electoral election commission of India websites and trying to find how many, whether I am there or not. This year, whether I'll be able to vote or not, and how many people are there who are going to vote in my constituency. All these information on public domain, and you can go absolutely full-blown with your IDs, and you can download those information because these are all publicly available in information, and you can download it. You have been authorized to download. Okay, but if you want to download it in secrecy for some reasons, please follow the level of covertness here. What you want to be anonymous versus you want to be covert. So while performing OSINT investigation, there are three questions that we should keep in the mind. The answer to this simple question will guide and shape our thought process to conduct our investigation in a very, very scientific way. And those questions are very, very important questions. Who are you? Where are you? What are you looking for? So nowadays we have user accounts for everything from local computer to the website services that synchronize our data across different systems. So understanding who we are at each of these locations will help us remain the covert we wish. And then the second one is, where are you? This question referred to our system's network traffic. where it is coming from, what is the IP address, where it is going, could it be compromising our OPSEC, operational security, and covertness of our assessments. That will give you, a very good answers, whether you are following the level of, covertness you are looking for. And last one is the most important one. What are you looking for? The more specific or restricted data we are trying to collect, the more covert or clandestine you may need to become. This might be a factor if you are infiltrating a hackers group's forum to read what they are addressing. Going there as a stupid, your same ID can be a disaster for you. And if, you are trying to download something from there directly in your main machines, with your all administrative ID, your machine is bound to be infected by those vectors. So be careful about it. Many times they create a trap. You go and download something and a malware will come along with that as a part of, polyglot, or maybe sometime PDF file will have some malwares embedded in the metadata. So what are you looking for is important. But if you're looking for something very restricted, then you must not use your overt operation. You should go to the highest level of security, which is anonymous type of. And if you don't want, you want to, okay, even if it knows my address, doesn't matter, but, but I need to, he should not come back to me. I think a good, SOC proxy plus Tor can be a good way to become, not allowing them to come back to you. Even they don't know your name, doesn't matter. But just be careful, ask this question, what are you looking for? And if you're looking for more restrictive information from this, and trying to download some information from the hackers channel or something, just be careful. So where are the places, common information disclosure issues, which is very important. There are laws and, processes are there. Where are the places that might leak our data, where we could be giving away clues about who we are, where we are, and what we are doing. All these questions, if you answer it correctly, you know that, you are in safe hand. You are doing things right to make yourself clandestine if there is a need for it. And, if you don't want to do it and it is okay to get the data from Election Commission website, it is good to use your own overt, informations, around that. So we need to start the analysis of application layer as the high layer sends and receive the data from application that we interact with to get the work done. But there are, application layer issues. So just be careful about that, okay? Being logged into a website, service, or device with a personal or private account instead of Osint can tell others about you. Many times, a small cookies coming to your machine can reveal your footprints of your system footprints, and it can expose your systems to the outside world. Cookies that we receive when we visit a site, web bugs, we call it web bugs, and tracking content that website user target advertising can be used into the Osint actions. Add-ons and plugins, if you're doing it in style inside your browser to assist your work, can also send traffic about our activity to the author of the add-ons, and others can reveal them our work. So add-ons, and that is the reason why we are saying that you should use Python instead of going browser-based searching, which does not provide you safety. So if you are using Python, the browser-based risk of being exposed does not exist, and you will be able to remain, covert or clandestine as the need arises. So it's always is great to use the scripts, tools, and application to send traffic to the web server rather than just going to the browser and sending the strings. So browser is a place where the informations are leaked. Browser leakages, browserleaks.com. Free browser leaks site has a number of tests about our browser to see what data it reveals about our systems. But this site also takes some data about you, and it installs some Java applets and can cause issue with you. Okay, so be careful. So many times, the browser leakage, can cause who is the person, what is the device info, and what are the information they're looking for. And there are a lot of information it can send. So let's have a look of that, what are the information we can send. It can send connection type, it can send local IP address, it can send even the US, it can also talk about the speakers, if it is detected. It can say microphones, and it will tell you the microphone is there and some sounds are there around here, you can hear it. And there are many other information. So just be careful. Deviceinfo.me site shows the other microphones and discovery. These information in combination with huge amount of data about the system. So technically your system's, footprint goes out, in many times because of the browser leakage. So be careful about that. So major search engine collect data about what is searched and when, from what IP address and by whom. These search engines try to customize our search results. DuckDuckGo search engine is one search engine that don't track us and try not to customize your search results. Okay, so better to use DuckDuckGo for normal searches. Google actually keep tracks of everything. Okay. One very important thing about your system which you are going to use, understand our systems and application network traffic to know where our data can be recorded and can be spilled to other people who should not have it, so that we can steps to prevent, to limit the leakage of information. It's good to use SOC proxies and Tor wisely, use appropriate search engine and website, clear the caches when you shut down your browsers. If you are using browser, avoid it if possible. Using a script is better. History, on your browser, if it is there, it is risky for you because the one bad, information, it can leak out all your information. So understand where our application communicates, what they sends. You can use netsend command to find whether it is connecting to some other callbacks are there because of this IP address. The callback need to be blocked. And you require a significant amount of work around that. Okay. Use appropriate Osint user account to work requiring access authenticated resources. Good to create sock puppet, fake accounts only for the targets, and keep creating many, if there's a need for it. Create solid operating procedures and processes and follow them. Because what happens if you are using ad hoc way of doing things, you might expose something by your innate habit of doing something more, and you may land up in trouble. So it is always, when you are doing the investigation, you should have a steps defined for this and use only those steps to find the information. Don't deviate anything else. Otherwise, you might end up, because of many times our innate habit of doing something nonsense becomes very high. And one mistake can expose your credentials altogether. So be careful about that. So there are a lot of interesting things are there. Osint Ninja, is a very interesting, information which is available. Michael Bazzell has written a couple of books. Hiding from the Internet and Extreme Privacy, provides a free copy workbook. Great resources for protecting yourself, personality, and extreme privacy. Hiding from the Internet, I think, it is very important, documentations. Okay. Now coming to setting up the Osint platform, we'll spend some time on this before we, wrap it up today. Setting up the Osint platform, how your Osint platform should look like, what exactly you should do, whether you should use VM or you should use hardware-based, tools, or whether you should use some hacked systems outside your country to do those things. And there are, depending upon which organization you work for. If you work for, the government organizations and you have the mandate to use any system outside or hack system outside, you have been allowed to do the, offensive, you can use it. Or if at all, if you're using it, it is always good to check up the capabilities around that. Okay. So what system do you use? The assessment system we use will house your tools and data. We may have more than one system depending on your target, your perceived threat profile, and other factors. Or what operating system will be used? What platform do your tool runs? on will you select a cloud-based, virtual machine-based, or read-only media-based platform to the system. There are SD card, micro SD card, and nano cards, which can be utilized for booting into as an operating systems using Kali Linux or using a lot of other operating systems are there, and there you have a hardware capability where you can block it, nothing can be written on it, and it will become reusable multiple times without leaving a footprints. Okay, so will you use mobile device or a laptop device, or whether you use mobile device emulator in your burner phone or real smartphones? Does your team have funding for that? All those information need to be answers before you start using the system properly. So system requirements are very simple, affordable to use and maintain. Trustworthiness is very critical. If it is a malware is already entered in your system, you have already lost the battle. So it has to be clean systems when you start the Osint operations. The trustworthiness of the systems need to be very high. And that's the reason learning how to harden your systems at the kernel level, at the RFID level, at the level of, so that you can create a trustworthiness in the systems, and that the system is not, compromised, and it will not do any callback to the outside world. It has to be reliable. Our Osint platforms should work when needed, as some assignments might be time constrained. It has to be cleanable so that, suppose if you are using virtual machines, you can destroy the virtual machine and you can reuse a new virtual machines which is needed. Is it multiple user? It is always avoid to use only one, not to use the same system by many people. And it is better to use virtual machines or USB based, booting process with hardened devices. That is a better options. Is it should be remotely accessible, or you want to work from the cloud and you want to have a connectivity between your machine and the cloud using the secure systems? It all depends, what exactly you are doing and how you are doing it. If it is an external machine outside the country, remotely accessible, then you need to have the VPNs, very strong, SOC proxies, so that even if that machine is compromised, nobody should be able to come back to you. So condition for, Osint platform, definitely availability has to be there. Assessing, are the cloud server available to access from the home or office, or remotely accessing using SSH or RDP? Whether it is a GUI based or I prefer, non-GUI based, and it is better to use the CLI and the Python scripts for doing it. Okay, and you will learn it how to do that. Okay, ease of updates. Any patching is to be done, need to be updated. And when it comes to the consideration of your Osint platform, ensure it is affordable, trustworthy, cleanable, availability is assured, 24 hours remind if there is required. It should be available 24/7. It has to be multi-user. It is better to use single systems, not multiple user. Then how you're going to do the access, is a system local or can it be remote? GUI versus CLI, and finally the ease of updates, how you can update the program if there is a new change has happened and new vulnerability has been discovered. So it's all, there are three Osint platform can be: dedicated physical system, new laptops, virtual machines, or cloud platform like VDI browser or cloud servers. It can be one of them, or it can be a compromised machine outside if you are with some special agency. Okay. So Buscador is a beautiful, virtual browser. Osint virtual machines and virtual browser built in there. Virtual browsers used to connect concept of application virtualizations. Someone runs a computer program on a system like a cloud or somewhere remote location. They send output an application to the web browser through the special software. This allows us to browse and retrieve documents from the website that may not be able to browse from our installed browser. That web traffic is not coming from our system, and the files would not be retrieved to our computer locally. And there are, tools around that, WebGap or Kigloo or some virtual browser that can be used for Osint purposes. It's a one-time use browser section. So VDI, instead of virtualizing just one application, we can virtualize the entire operating system. That's the right thing to do it. And use single-use virtual machines. Never use it again for any same task, and never use. And if you are doing the IP masquerading using Metasploit, please do that. And it is good not to use direct systems. Even in virtual machines, the IP address has to be using the Tor plus SOC proxies if there is a need for it. So check your team's requirement. While choosing the platform, it is recommended to check your team's requirement, what they are looking for. Do they have any restrictions or any budget constraint? Consult with your customer for requirements. Evaluate your options and source solutions. Choose the platform what meets your need. Not always the very costly solutions is the best thing. Many times, low-cost solution can be a very good solution. So use platform for a while and evaluate whether they need to meet your team's needs and change if there is a need for if it is necessary. So networking and virtual private networks, understand the drawback of using VPNs. They may be well-known IP address that may be banned or blocked on those sites. Then you will not be able to use the VPNs. So many times VPNs are there, good, but if it is a well-publicized IP address along with the VPN, the tool will not be accessible at all, and your system will be blocked for that. So be careful. Create your VPN endpoint. You should know how to do that. And OpenVPN is definitely one way of doing it. But you should look for some smart VPNs. I can't discuss here, but there are a lot of smart VPNs, which is better than OpenVPNs, and it is available in the public domain for using that. Okay. So web browser and browser extension that protects, in my opinion, anything that you're using web browsers, protections is not guaranteed. So be careful about it. Even though the document says that, you can protect your browser and your systems from these browsers, it's not trustworthy. It is better to use CLI and script based. And that's the reason the course that we are having is Osint using Python, not using browser. And the most important thing is that at the end of it, when you download the data, we are going to store. Okay. So data retention. It simply means how long you will store the data, such as notes, pictures, video, reports. So we have a data means retention policy. What is the file naming conventions? How you are going to save the files, what will the schema for that, which folder you will keep, what will be the name of the folder, how it will be structured, is a separate or standalone directory, or it's on the cloud, where you want to do it, where do you want to store data, it is on an external hard drive, or it is on a file share on the virtual machine, must be decided carefully, as it can have a big implications after the assessment if your work ends up legal proceedings. Okay. So encrypt whatever is there so that, even if somebody gets access to your data, they should not be able to get anything meaningful out of that. Okay. So storage encryptions, please look for it. Why to protect it? Aggregation of sensitive data makes the information more sensitive. Your analysis and notes will be stored with this information that may have data should be restricted. And there are ways to do that. In macOS, it is a file vault. Microsoft, you can use built-in BitLockers, or you want to have something extra. Please carefully decide about that. Don't leave it to chance. Mobile device, whether it's Android or IP phone or iPad, so be careful about that. Changing your browser user agent to that of a mobile. If you're using mobile, and there are many plugins are available, but be careful about that. Using a script is much better than using the mobile phone, exposing all your information to the browsers. Browsers always leak the information. Make a browser look like a mobile one. You can customize it, if there is a need for it. Firefox developer tools are used to being resolutions and emulator, and it allows you to make it like a mobile phone if you are using emulator for that. So the person will think it is a mobile phone and you can manipulate the information. How you manage those passwords is very important. My suggestion will be that, use the passphrase and never repeat any password in any sites. Always use one-time, passwords. Always never use a pattern around that. Keeping it in a password manager is said to be good, but I don't recommend that. Create your own password manager if there is a need for it using your Python scripts, and use it there in external devices, never in the internal systems where you are using everything else. You have to be careful about the cost, accessibility, software upkeep, how you are going to do that. And password managers are risky one. So you need to be very careful about it. Okay. So we'll end here, before we go to the next chapter, let's spend some time on, let me stop this, stopping the share. Don't leave. We'll still continue to be here for some time. Give me 1 second. I'll just end the stream.